Hi, I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series. I'm working with you exercise by exercise through each of the ABRSM theory workbooks. So you need to make sure that you have your ABRSM theory and practice ready and to hand to work with me. We're making good progress working through grade 2 at present. I've loads of resources available to help you on my website. If you go to sharonbill.com, you can access the free PDF information sheets that I make frequent reference to throughout this series. These PDF sheets are available in US letter or A4 and they accompany each step of this series. There's also a page which links to all of my YouTube video tutorials, and you can also access the information about the books that I have available. It's likely that you're working toward your ABRSM Music Theory exam. If that's the case, I have How to Take Your ABRSM Music Theory Exam book, and it's full of tips and techniques to help you to best prepare for your ABRSM exam and how to also make best use of that exam time once you're in the exam room. And so if you go to sharonbill.com, it's all there. And now we're cracking on with continuing on section B in this grade 2 workbook. So if you turn in your booklet to page 7, we're going to carry on with section B. So if you find your PDF sheet B and have that to hand, and we're now going to carry on with exercises 2 and 3. So exercise 2 asks us to add the time signature to each of these extracts. The first thing that you need to just keep an eye out for is, what will your bottom number be? What will be the best unit value to count? So in this exercise here, you think, is this best to be counted in quavers or eighth notes, crotchets, quarter notes, or minims, half notes? And if you thought that you were going to try and count this in eighth notes, that would be really not advisable, because if you're trying to count how many eighth notes or quavers, we've got 8 plus 4 plus another 4, that would be 16 eighth notes per bar, and that's not an appropriate time signature. And so that's not going to work. If you were trying to count it in crotchet beats or quarter notes, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 over 4 is not a time signature. That's too big a value. And so really, at a glance, it's quite apparent that we're going to be counting this in minim beats or half notes. And this middle bar here is the easiest bar to see straight away. So we know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 minim beats or 4 half notes. So if you decide on your bottom number first, the top number then becomes apparent. And I would scan through and just choose which is the easiest bar. This perhaps isn't the easiest bar to deduce your time signature from, whereas this one gives you the answers straight away. So and so on for here in these next 2 exercises. So you need to decide, are you counting in unit values of a quaver, a crotchet, or a minim? That's an eighth note, a quarter note, or a half note. And so just have a little go at these last few exercises on your own, and then you can re-access into the video when you've had a little attempt. Doesn't matter if you get it wrong. So press pause, have a little go and see what you come up with, and then we'll work through it together. I'm hoping that you've had a little go at that now, and so let's have a look at exercise 2A. So this first bar gives us the answer nice and easily. Our bottom number we're going to be counting is number 8, because we can't count it in anything else, because if we were trying to count it with a bottom number of 4, if we were counting in crotchet beats, we'd have 1.5 crotchet beats or quarter notes. That won't work. And there isn't enough to even make 1 minim or 1 half note, so that's not possible. It has to be counted in eighth notes or quaver beats. So we know our bottom number is 8, and there are 1, 2, 3 quaver beats per bar, 3 eighth notes per bar. And so if you glance through 1, 2, 3, 1, those 2 semi-quavers make a quaver, or those 16th notes make an eighth note. So we've got 1, 2, 3. And also in this bar, we can see we've got 1, 2, and don't forget the rest, semi-quaver, semi-quaver, or 16 and 16 makes an 8th note, so we've still got 1, 2, 3, so that works out. There's no need to check absolutely every single bar because they must be the same. However, there's no harm in just being extra sure, and then we're absolutely certain that our time signature is 3/8. So let's move on to next exercise B. And so if we glance ahead, these are the 2 bars that are going to give it us easily. And so it's pretty obvious our bottom number note is number 2. We're counting in minim beats or half notes. And we can see that we 1, 2, 3. Oh, that went a bit off. Shall I do that again? Keep it inside the stave. There we go. That's a bit neater. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here we can see that we've got 3 because that divides 1 into 2, and then a dot after a note makes it half as much again. We did that in grade 1. That gives us our 3. And this bar is perhaps the most difficult to look at, so this wouldn't be the bar that you refer to begin with. However, we've got 1 minim beat there, 1 half note there, and then the dot and that next note will also make a minim because that's half the value of that. That would be that in note form. And then we've got another one here. That's perhaps the trickiest one. Let's move on to the next exercise. And so let's have a look which is going to make it the most obvious bar. This bar and this bar will tell us. Now we have a choice here. It's a little bit ambiguous because here you could think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We could have 4/4. We've got 4 crotchet beats, 4 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, or we could have 2/2. Okay, now either of those would be accurate mathematically. However, I would suggest that this word here, presto, which means fast, it's very fast. It would be hard to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that would be quite a mouthful. That would be quite tricky to count. It flows much quicker if you're thinking in 2s, 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2. And so I would suggest that 2/2 is the best musical application there. However, mathematically that would also work as 4/4. So either of those two would work, but I would suggest 2/2 for that one. There we go then. So let's turn over the page to page number 8. We've got a few more to go at, so let's just quickly have a mark through those. If you've not turned over the page and not seen those, just press pause and have a little go at those now. I'll now mark through those with you, so please do make sure that you've had a go at those yourself. Now don't be off put by the fact that there are rests here. That is exactly the same amount of time as that. It's just silence rather than note values. Refer back to your grade 1 information to be sure of those rests. They are half notes or minim beat rests. This bar also is an easy bar to find out because we know that there are 2 minims per semibreve or 2 half notes per whole note, and then the dot means half as much again, gives us another one. And so you can see our time signature is becoming apparent. It's 3/2. Here we are again. It's this next one. We're obviously counting in 8th notes or quaver beats, so our bottom number is 8. And so 1, 2, 3, top number is 3/8. Again, glance ahead and find the easiest bar to find your time signature. We're obviously counting in minims or half notes, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 per bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and a half, 4 minim beats or half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. That's that. Now this next exercise, if you want to have a little go at this yourself, this is relatively easy. They've done the thinking for us. We've just got to count it out. It's asking us to add the missing bar lines. They all start on the first bit of the bar, so you've just got to literally count in the unit values. Just keep your eyes peeled to make sure that you're counting in the correct unit value. And so we're looking for 3 quaver beats per bar, or 3/8 notes. And so you just break it down and think, well, that divides into 2, and there's another one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then these 2 semis make a quaver, 2 16ths make an 8, so we've got 1, 2, 3, and it's just breaking down the unit values. So press pause, have a go at the rest of this page, and then I'll work through this together with you. I'm hoping you've had a little go at that on your own. Doesn't matter if you've made a few mistakes, you can always go back and try again. We're only working in pencil. If you want to, by all means annotate above the top to help you. If you were in an exam situation, you could always rub that out later. So we're counting 3 minim beats per bar. If you want to, you could just do that to help you keep in mind what unit you're counting in. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, because we know that breaks down. Now here we've got 1.5 crotchet beats here, plus another half, so altogether those two will make a minim. So we've got 1 minim there, 1 half note there, those two make 1, there's 1. So 1, 2, 3, there we go. 1, 2, 3 minim beats, 1. Now that rest and that note add up to a minim or a half note. That's our rest equivalent of a crotchet or quarter note. And then those two add up to a minim. So 1, 2, 3 minim beats, 3 half notes there. Again, those two together combine to make a minim. That would be like, if we're counting in units of a minim, that's 3/4 of a minim, that's 1/4 of a minim, or a half note. 1, 2, 3, bar line, we know we're in the right place. If you haven't worked in correctly up to this bar line, you know that you've gone somewhere out of sync earlier and you need to just backtrack. If you find yourself getting particularly stuck on a bar, work backwards from a bar line that you do know. Okay, so remember, this time signature here actually means 2/2, or 2 minim beats, 2 half notes per bar. So let's just work through this. 1, 2, that's a short bar. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, that's the equivalent of that in rest form. So there's 1, 2. There's 1 minim beat plus a half, which is that. And then those 4 semiquavers equate to a crotchet or a quarter note. So altogether, 1.5, 2, that's our bar line there. The dot and those semiquavers give us another half note or minim beat. Those two make a minim or a half note. Those two make a minim or a half note. There we go. Those 4 quavers or 1/8 notes equate to a minim. 4 equate to a minim. We're in the correct place. Let's carry on. So now we're counting 3 quavers, 3/8 notes. So there's 1, there's 2, that's half of a quaver or 1/8, that's half of a quaver or an 1/8. So together those two make an 1/8 note, so that's correct. Now to there, 1, 2, 3 1/8 notes, 3 quavers. That crotchet, that quarter note, divides into 2 quavers or 2 1/8 notes. Half as much again gives us another one, and so that's that bar complete. Those two add up to a quaver or an eighth note. There's another one. And then don't be confused by the fact that this is a rest. That is still the same mathematical equivalent as that, just because it's in silence. So those two also make an eighth note or a quaver. So 1, 2, 3. There's our bar line. And so this should now work out 1, and that divides into 2. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so now we're in 4 minim beats, or 4 half notes per bar. So 1, 2, those two make 1, those two make 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a half plus that other one makes 2. Those two bits there, the dot is equivalent to that, so that and that will make a minim beat. So 1, 2, that breaks down, 3, 4, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's nice and easy. 1, those two make another one, 2, 3, 4, we know we're in the right place. This next one, we're in 3 half notes, or 3 minim beats per bar. Let's have a look at this. Now don't be put off by the fact that there's lots of tied notes. That's, you know, if you're forming that, you'd have to consider it, but we're just adding it up, so they make no difference to us whatsoever. So that rest is the equivalent of that note, a crotchet or a quarter note. So that and that will make our minim, our half note. So there's 1, there's another 1, 2, 3. So there's our bar line. Now here, those two equate to that, because that dot is the equivalent half as much again. We know from a grade 1, a dot makes a note half as long again, and those two would add up to a crotchet or a quarter note. And so altogether we know that makes a minim or a half note. 1, 2, 3. The tie makes no difference to us at all. That would break down into 2 minims, 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter about the tie. And then again, those two, 1, 2, 3. There's our bar line. And so this last note should make 3. We know that that divides into 2. So we've got a whole note that divides into 2 half notes, or a semi-breve that divides into 2 minims. Half as much again, and there's our 3. We know that we're accurate. That's correct. Last one. So this one actually means 2 over 2. If you find it really difficult to keep counting in minim beats, remember mathematically it works out the same. We count it differently when we're performing it, but mathematically it works out the same. So if you find it really hard to keep thinking of there's one minim beat, that and that make another, you could always think, well, I'll just convert to this for the moment just to get my maths correct. You think 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our bar complete. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it works out exactly the same because we know that's 1 minim beat, that's 1 in beat. So 2, 2 is mathematically the same as 4 over 4. You would just count it very differently if you were performing this piece of music. So there's 1 minim beat, 1 half note. Those two combined give us the value of another half note. So that's that one. Half note, minim, minim. There we go. Half note, minim, minim. Half note. That's correct. And then that leaves us with a whole note which divides into 2 halves, so we know we're in the right time signature still. So we finished correctly. Well done. That's it. So it just requires a little bit of thought. I hope that's been helpful to you. If you've enjoyed that video, give me a like. That'd be really fab. I'd really appreciate that. If you can subscribe to my channel to keep updated, everything you need there to help you can be accessed. And also, If you can subscribe to my channel, you'll be sure to keep updated with all the fab stuff we've got left awaiting for us throughout the rest of this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!